Okay, so this episode I want to talk real briefly, try not to make them 30-minute long episodes, about how I set up my feeders postseason. We're in Southeast Texas here. It's about February, so it's after the youth hunting season for white-tailed deer and whatnot. So this time of year, I like to go into hog hunting mode. I enjoy it. So we're going to talk today about setting up your feeders. For those of you who don't run feeders and whatnot in your state, you can apply the same principles. Lots of lures, attractants. We make some good lures, attractants. I call it a bait bag, but it's not really bait. Anything like that. Anything is good. Anything that'll work. This is pretty much how you want to do it. I wouldn't imagine that the principles will be too much different where you're at. So basically what I've got here is I've got a feeder, I've got a bow stand back here that I like to hunt out of. I hunt with a rifle or a bow depending. It's great for kids. I don't make the shots too far. Plus the older I get, the less I have to work at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this feeder to drop a little later in the evening than I normally do, right before dark. Our hogs here, when they have a little bit of pressure on them, generally they don't move as much during the day. If you are seeing a lot of hogs during the day, that's because they're very comfortable. It's definitely their place, and they don't have enough hunting pressure on them. So you definitely need to, if you have a problem with hogs, you need to apply some pressure. Get out there and put some in the cooler, or backstrap them out, or trap them, or whatever version works for you. If you've seen them during the day, that's generally not the way it's supposed to work. So ours here right now, I see them in the mornings and I see them in the evenings. As I apply, it's about 300 acres. So as I apply a little more pressure in the right places, I'm going to see less of them in the morning. They're going to move to more like sunset right now is at 6 o'clock. They're going to move to more like a 8:30, 9:30, and then 11:30 when they hit the feeders. And then after 11:30, it's kind of open, but pretty much 1 or 2. And after the 1 or 2 o'clock time on this particular property, you won't see them until 4 or 5 at the feeders on the game cameras I've run anyway. So what I want to do is I set all my feeders up so they don't drop as much corn as we do during deer season. And yes, we run feeders during deer season because we manage the herd, and we have a lot of youth that hunt this property. And the more numbers you see when it comes to deer, the better you get at sizing them up. So we have less casualties or collateral damage, I guess you could call it, because our youth get to see a lot of deer here because of the feeders. It is legal. If you don't feed in your state, that's because your state doesn't let you. So just for what it's worth. All right, so get off my little soapbox. So I'm going to set this feeder up. Normally it's set up for about 4:30 this time of year. The sunrise sunset's moved a little back. It's moved a little bit since we were hunting deer, but 5:30 is a good time. I know sunset's at 6. I don't really care so much about deer, other than if deer come in and they're feeding on the corn, that tells me that they're comfortable and they're not spooked out. That means my scent's right, my setup's right, the corn's right, the feeder's right. You can go through your checklist. That's like when you get a raccoon underneath your feeder, right? And it's 7:30 in the evening. Not very many people will tell you that's a great sign, because yes, you pretty much have to climb out of the deer stand to scare off a raccoon. But that raccoon's not going to be there unless it feels safe. I don't care if it feels comfortable or not, safe. And when you're sitting in the dark at 9:30 at night and it's pitch black and you can't see your hand in front of your face, I hunt no moon. No moon works really well on this property. A lot of people believe in a full moon. I think that works better for spot and stalk guys. But if you're hunting only full moons and you're not doing real well, I'm going to have a whole episode on that. But you might switch up your tactics. So anyway, when your raccoon's under your feeder, it's whether or not he feels safe. I'm sitting in a tree stand with my bow. It's cold this time of year. Cold for me. I'm from South Texas, but I've been there for 4 hours. And I know there's a raccoon underneath there because I shined one of my lights on him, and I can hear him. There's really not a whole lot of other ways to know when a hog comes in. We have some motion activated LED lights and stuff like that that are super simple. Just a red light comes on. A lot of guys wanted them that were friends of mine, so we make that as well. And so that works, but generally you guys aren't going to have that. you can hear that raccoon leaves when those hogs come in. On this back road, for instance, it's a back road. There's a fence line right here, lots of traffic. There'll be a raccoon underneath this feeder, and I'll hear the barbed wire ting as the hogs come underneath it. Or I don't ever get multiples. It's generally one hog, big one, and you'll hear the barbed wire, and that raccoon's gone. That's when you know it's just a few more minutes before he gets there. So that's a great sign. So anyway, I'm going to set this guy up to go off at 5:30, about 30 minutes before dark. Normally on these feeders that we make, they're adjustable. You can have them throw at 100% speed, or they can throw at 50% speed. I run them all at 100. That way it's consistent. There's a lot of different ways to tell how much corn your feeder's putting out. The good part is the feeders we make, they're all powder coated. I've run these for 4 years now. I think the worst thing that happened is I had a spinner plate get stuck and had a motor go bad, and that's it. So anyway, so I'm going to set it up to throw for 4 seconds, because 4 seconds, I know that's not an overthrow, but it's not an underthrow. If I'm short on corn, as I get them more dialed in, if I think I'm overfeeding, if there's more corn left on the ground, because maybe I've put enough pressure on the hogs and moved out, I'll drop it down to 3 seconds. You just need a little bit of corn on the ground. They are not going to come looking for this, and again, it's a separate episode, but they are not going to come looking for this because it's a feeder. They're going to come looking for this because you set it up on their trail, and they're going to walk underneath it on accident. You just want something that'll make them stop. And you got to get them to stop long enough for you to take a good ethical shot. And that's what the objective is. So I'm going to fill this feeder today. I'm going to set it for about a 5:30 spin. Bow stand's good. I set it up pretty good. Archery season starts here in October. So I cleaned it up pretty good last October, so it's great for the kids. It's 22 yards if you get a kid who wants to archery hunt. I could set it up at 30, 40. I could set it up at 50 or 60 if I wanted to. I'd recover less game at 50 or 60, but I can still shoot to 50 or 60 with my lights, because that's what we do. I put one of my kids in there, or I put a friend's kids in there. 22 yards is good. Tell them aim a little bit high or put it right on. It's going to drop anyway when you're shooting. It's 15 feet. So, I can't encourage you enough. Yeah, it's awesome. So your Hercules, you can climb 23 feet in a tree stand. Man, if you got a nephew, son, friend, take a kid, dude. Sorry, it's kind of a soapbox for me, but you'll change a kid's life if you take them outside and you take them hunting. I started with this when I was in my teens, and it literally saved my life. So anyway, so we're going to set this up for 30 minutes before sunset. It's going to throw one time. It's going to throw for 4 seconds, and I'll be back. It takes about 7-10 days on this property. It's a no moon phase right now, so we'll be going into a waxing moon here pretty soon, which means it's going to be getting brighter a little bit every day. I'll probably be back in a week, 10 days. We're going to have another episode on how the hogs actually find your corn. This isn't exactly on a trail. It is the same stand that's got the telephone poles that I made a separate episode on, talked about how important they are. So there are a lot of trails, there's a lot of activity here. But, basically it's going to have to throw corn for a few days until the deer find it, and a couple more days till the raccoons find it, and then a couple more days until the hogs find it. So we'll be back. I'll bring the tree arm, we'll set it up in there, and we'll set up a game camera. We can figure out what time of day they're moving. We're going to see if we can get something on film here. I've got a few more also that we're going to set up. So anyway, that's my tip for today. Sorry it's kind of long. You can tell I don't know. I know more about this than I ever thought I would, and I really enjoy sharing it with other people. So if any of this helps, do me a favor, share it with a buddy, give it to a friend. I don't really care. It's just how you do it. Just get outdoors. Do something. It's good for you. It's good for the soul. It's good for the mind. Take a kid too, because too many kids don't even know what grass looks like anymore, in my opinion. And they're all hooked to these friggin' cell phones. But again, that's another soapbox. So if this helps, just remember, one time a day, last thing in the evening. I will adjust the time if I have a lot of traffic or if the deer are hitting it kind of heavy. I may throw at 5:30 and then again at 8:30 or 8 o'clock. But if I throw it at 8 o'clock, it's only going to be I'm just barely going to turn the spinner plate to just dribble some corn out of it. Just so that if the first group comes through, the second group's got something there, and that's all it's for. Remember, more pressure I put on the hogs here, more nocturnal they're going to get, the more we're going to have to use lights, whether it's feeder lights, bow mounted lights, rifle mounted lights. They're going to go nocturnal. That's what they do. It is not normal to see a hog during the day. If you're seeing hogs during the day, you either have too many or you're not putting enough pressure on them, and usually it's both situations. So, all right, thanks guys. I'd appreciate the subscribe. You know, that's kind of what we're here for. We're not really. If I was getting rich, I'd have somebody else doing it, and I'd be in Cancun. So, anyway, you got any questions? Post them below. Feel free to email me. You got a hog problem, you can't figure it out? Email me. I like doing this, man. I've done it all over the world. So, just let me know. So that's the tip for today. Set your feeder late in the day. That's how you set up your feeders to transition into hog hunting. Thanks.